What you mean? You gonna have that man killing you because you think you gotta be with him for the rest of your life, baby? Nah, leave him alone. You gotta go. Hi, my loves. Welcome back to my channel. I almost want to say to my podcast because this is part 2 of the Manifest Daily Sleepover episode. I'm already out of breath. I'm already out of breath and we haven't even gotten into the tea. So let's get into it. I'm sat right here in my dining room area. I have my little Starbucks coffee this morning. I got a grande mocha latte with oat milk decaf and 3 pumps toffee nut no whip. It's a very sweet coffee. Okay, so for those of y'all that don't like sweet coffees, I do not recommend. But for those of y'all who basically just drink coffee as like a sugar drink in the morning, highly recommend. Okay, why is this so close to me? Back up. Okay. I wanted the tree in the video for the aesthetic, but like it's a little too close, you know what I'm saying? If you are not familiar with my podcast, it's called Manifest Daily. Highly recommend you go over and listen to part 1 of the sleepover episode. Over there, we get into some juicy questions. We answer a bunch more. I literally wanted to film this episode in bed. Like we were at a sleepover, just chatting. I wanted to make a drink. I had a vision, and let me tell you something, okay? We're gonna fulfill the vision on another episode, but for today, girl, I just came from the gym. I literally just like popped some mascara on, popped a little lipstick on so I could look presentable for the camera. But girl, I'm in some sweaty gym clothes right now and we ain't finna be in the bed rolling up with this sweaty gym clothes, okay? So let's go ahead and dive into today's episode. Grab yourself a beverage of choice, my loves. Grab yourself a snack if we are cleaning together today. If you got me in the background, hey girl, hey. I'm glad you're getting that Windex in. I'm glad you know spraying with the Mrs. Myers, all that good stuff, okay? We love a clean house, happy home. I don't think that's the saying, but you know, we're gonna make it the saying, okay? Clean house, happy home. So let's dive into the question. So I have them here and I'm gonna try to get into as many as I can. I wrote out a bunch for the podcast episode and a bunch for this episode here. So we're gonna dive into the first question, which is one of the juicy ones, and it is, do you miss your ex? Okay, let's gather, let's pull up the chair. No, I'm kidding. I wish the answer was juicy, but yes, sometimes. And let me explain. My relationship ended because it was supposed to end. I think it was at the point where it was ready to end. And I think that was still the best decision. So I don't regret the decision of ending the relationship. However, you know, when you're in a relationship with someone who's literally like your best friend, when that relationship ends, you lose your best friend. Or you don't always lose your best friend. I mean, some people stay friends with their exes. That's just kind of like not my thing, not my forte. So I lost, a partner, but I also lost my best friend. And so there are times when it's like, I'll think of a joke or something will happen and I'll think of my ex and be like, oh, he would think this is hilarious. Or like I would think of a way that I would text something to him. Or sometimes I'm like talking to these dudes out here, setting up dates, whatever. You know how like you in the talking stage with these guys trying to, get ready to see if it's gonna be a thing. And I'll be talking to these dudes and I'll be dropping some jokes and they don't be getting it. And I'm like, it just goes over their heads. Like my sense of humor is very, I was gonna say it's unique, but everybody's sense of humor is unique. You know what I mean? So I feel like y'all get my jokes. So like the type of jokes that I make is the type of jokes that I would make with my ex and the type of jokes that sometimes I'm trying to make with these dudes out here and they just don't get it. Like, like I think my jokes are just quirky, I would say. So I just miss that aspect sometimes, like, having certain things that we would like just vibe with. And when there's like new music out, like there's like the new Chief Keef song, or when there's new like Lil Baby or Lil Durk, and I know he's into the same kind of music, like it's just kind of, missing the days when we would share that together. So sometimes I do, but not necessarily in a way where I'm like, oh, I want to go back to the relationship, but more that I just miss that friendship aspect of our relationship. So let me take a sip of this drink. Literally all my lipstick on the cup. I love that for me, truly do. Next question. So someone says, how do you continue to have hopes, or let's backtrack. How do you continue to have high hopes when experiencing dating letdowns? Like as a mature woman, how do you maintain a soft heart, confidence, and openness, especially in this climate? Because girl, you said what you said, yes, period. But can I read? get into it because right now I'm struggling. She said, I hope that made sense. I love your podcast. You're the best. Thank you so much. I'm so glad you listened. Hopefully you made it to the video part of this episode. Also, Mercury is retrograde right now. So if my words getting tied up, tongue twisted, all that, we just gonna leave it in because it's just Mercury in retrograde, okay? Or Mercury is retrograde, rather. How do you have high hopes when experiencing dating letdowns? I won't even lie to y'all, it gets hard sometimes. And it gets hard because the more that you experience like disappointment in something, it's only natural that you kind of start to almost like expect the worst, or you kind of start to become cynical, you start to become a little jaded. And when I tell you, I've had so many points in my dating journey where I've become extremely cynical, extremely jaded. And those are the moments where for me, I have to take a break. I have to take a step back. So I guess like how I deal with the dating letdowns is like, if I've had like a period of time, say it's like a month or whatever, I've gone on a bunch of dates, it just hasn't worked out, guys are ghosting, they're just acting crazy, then I just have to decide for myself, like, okay, I need to take a break from dating. I'm gonna either hop off the apps, I'm gonna delete them, I'm just not gonna date anyone for a minute, and I'm just gonna focus on myself. And usually it's kind of like a moment where I get to reset, and then I come back and I have more hope, and I have like higher hope. But I have noticed, and this is, you know, something that's actually made me kind of sad a little bit recently, is I've noticed that, you know, I'll go whatever, have a bunch of, you know, negative experiences, be like, okay, I'm feeling a certain type of way. Let me take a break. I'll take a break. I'll go back. And every single time that's happened and I go back, I notice that I go back with less enthusiasm and less excitement than I have before. And I think this is kind of good and bad. It's kind of good because it's like, to some degree, you kind of have to not like have no expectations, like no standards, like have high standards, but almost go into it with no expectation that like you gonna swipe and find your husband or find your wife. Like that's what I mean by no expectations. But at the same time, it kind of makes me sad because it almost feels like I'm starting to not even get excited about dating. And I mean, maybe that's good in my case because the excitement means having expectations, and it means that when people don't meet those expectations, I get disappointed. So I guess it could also be kind of good. I don't know. I just take a lot of breaks. I don't know what it is. I was actually telling a friend about this. When I came back to Dallas this most recent time, so it's January, obviously, as y'all are seeing this and as I'm recording this, but I took a bit of a break from dating because I was in Boston. So I was like, you know, not really swiping on the apps like that. Like I might go on Hinge every couple of days and see what's popping, whatever, but I wasn't really swiping, especially because at the time I was talking to one person that I kind of ended that situation because their communication skills were just, baby, it was giving D- at that. I came back and I noticed that like me coming back, baby, I'm about my money, I'm about my business, I'm about my goals. And I'm just like, if you are not, and I've always been like this, but I think like I came back with even more of that, like, if you're not about to add to my life, if you're not about to compliment me in some way, bring something to my life besides your looks, get out of my way. Get out of my way. I'm busy, I'm booked, I'm busy, I have things to do. And I feel like my attitude now is even more cutthroat. I don't know, it depends on what your dating goals are, how cutthroat you wanna be. But I will say that right now I'm just in the space where I'm minding my business, and unless you can add something to my life, add many different things that I have as non-negotiables to my life, I do not have the time. I simply don't have the time to even engage in a conversation. So that's where I'm at. Yeah, so simple answer is I just be taking breaks, and yeah. So next question, do you see yourself living in Dallas forever? I don't know if I see myself living in Dallas forever, but I definitely see myself living in Dallas for the foreseeable future. And foreseeable future for me means like, you know, next 5 years. Can I even see 10 years down the road? I really can't see 10 years down the road, but 5 years down the road, I can kind of see it a little bit. And I see myself staying in Dallas. Like, I really do like Dallas, and I talked about this, or I will talk about this in the podcast episode version, so go listen to that for more tea about, you know, my move to Dallas, any regrets, all that good stuff. But I really like it here. I'm actually considering buying a house here. And I feel like whenever people think about buying houses, like, I don't know about you, but sometimes people make it seem like, oh, you buying a house, like you about to be there for the rest of your life type thing. And it's like, baby, no, just like anything else in life, purchasing a home is temporary. Like, yeah, you want to purchase a home if you know you're going to at least like hold it for, or have it for, you know, a couple of years, because it is an investment in that way. Like, it's a lot of money going into this thing. And for you to get any type of return, it typically is like a long-term investment. So I think that's why people think of, you know, a home purchase is like you're planting roots. But I also see myself as like whatever home I end up buying is not going to be my forever home. I'm loving Dallas. I'm liking it so far. I'm liking and loving. Okay. And I do see myself here for the foreseeable future. I feel like, you know, 2 years in, I've now created a really nice routine. I feel like this is home now. Like, now when I go back to Boston, it feels like I'm truly visiting, and that no longer feels like home. This feels like home, and I love that feeling. Should I be obligated to stay living with mom at home, helping with bills and mortgage because she's not in a good place financially? Here's my honest answer. Now, take it or leave it, but I do not think that a child should feel obligated to stay at home and help financially with their parents because the parent is not in a good place financially. It's a very noble thing, and it's a very noble cause. And especially being an immigrant, I've heard, you know, several stories from other people, other friends that are also immigrants and whose parents came here, and it's, you know, maybe they're not in a great place financially. And as an immigrant child, especially if you are the first to go to college in your family, or you're the first to, you know, have like a higher paying job, that kind of thing, I think a lot of responsibility falls on you to give back to your parents and to kind of be like, okay, well, you know, we came to this country, we brought you here, and you went to college and you did this and you got this good job. So now it's your turn to take care of us. And I think that's a noble way of viewing it. But I also think that we are all individuals and we are all responsible for ourselves. I don't think it's fair at all for parents to ever, and not to say this person's parent is doing this, but I don't think it's ever fair for parents to place this immense amount of responsibility on their child to be like, okay, I brought you into this world so you could take care of me. Because you should not be having children to have a maid, to have free help or whatever. Like, that's not the point of having children. And if someone is having a child simply because they want a caretaker in the future, I think that's completely unfair to place that level of responsibility on a child that you bring into this world. I don't think that, you know, that's something that you should do. And I really like the idea of enabling someone to help themselves. So what that could look like is, you know, if your parent is not in a great place financially, but you have some ideas of how they could get there, maybe it's something like helping them apply for better jobs, or helping them figure out how, you know, if it's a thing they're interested in, you know, how they could go back to school and do X, Y, and Z. Just helping them to empower themselves and being like, hey, you know, it's not my responsibility to take care of you, but as your child, as someone that loves you, I want to help you do better and be better in this world. What does that look like for you, and how can I help support that goal of you moving forward on your own? I don't think it should be something where a parent is just relying on their child to be in the home and to take care of them, or to help out. Like, you're not the spouse, you're not a partner in that way. You're a child, you're their child. And so you should feel empowered to be able to go off and live your life and not feel tied down to your family home or your childhood home because your parent needs help. That's kind of my opinion on it. I think family is kind of a touchy subject. And I think the way that I view it, some might say that's kind of mean or cold. I don't really think so. I think it's just more so about understanding that I have, you know, responsibility to myself first and foremost, to take care of myself, to really make sure that I'm in a good space financially, make sure that I'm progressing forward, and obviously, you know, wanting my parents to be happy for me as I progress and move forward in my life. So that's my thoughts on it. Let me know what you think about that. Okay, so the next question is, what advice can you give to someone who's trying to script but has trouble building the habit for consistency? With scripting, I personally love to do it when I feel really inspired to do it, I would say. So I think with a lot of these specific manifestation tools and rituals and things like that, there's almost this, oh my gosh, Sorry, I just looked over at my potted plant that's over there and the thing looks so cracked and weird. Oh my God, what happened to that? Anyways, I think with the manifestation rituals and stuff, there's this like push to do something consistently because you want to see the result. Obviously, we tend to be very results driven, right? So we create goals or we have a list of manifestations, things like that, because we are thinking about the end result. We envision the end result. And so we're trying to take that end result and figure out how to reverse engineer it to get what we want, right? And I think that's a normal and natural way of thinking of it. But I feel like when you are going into something like scripting or visualizing or moon rituals or tarot or any of these things, and you're doing it with this sort of like pushing energy, pushing mentality of like, oh my God, I need to script every day because that's the only way I'm gonna get what I want, or that's like one of the ways I'm gonna get what I want. I think it comes off, you know, a bit desperate and a bit like you're doing something that like you kind of in the moment don't really enjoy. And because a lot of these tools and rituals revolve around the energetics of it all, like when we talk about gratitude, you know, if you look at person A and person B, and person A is just, they don't have a gratitude practice. I'm person A, okay? I don't have a gratitude practice where I'm sitting there every single day at 9 p.m. writing out what I feel grateful for. But I will say I practice gratitude daily because I naturally will like look around and see everything that I'm experiencing and feel that gratitude. I'll be like, oh my God, you know, the fact that I have this camera to film on, the fact that I was able to upgrade the mic, I had the funds to do that, the fact that I'm sitting here in this beautiful environment filming. Throughout my experiences, I'm able to sit and really feel the energy of gratitude naturally without setting a specific time to practice, but I'm practicing it consistently. Versus person B, or wait, was that person B? Whatever. Versus the other person where this other person might be like, I gotta sit down every single day and find something to feel grateful about or find something to write down that I'm grateful about. And because they're doing it with this pushing mentality, it's like they struggle to either feel the feeling of gratitude or they struggle to find something to be grateful for. Consistency with other things, I think you have to be a bit disciplined in some ways, but with these energetic type of rituals, especially scripting, I feel like it's just when you're inspired to script. So if for you, it's, you know, all of a sudden on a Saturday morning, you were thinking about all the things you're gonna do this year and you're thinking about how excited you are and you wanna go and write about it and you wanna go and script about it, do that. But if it's the same Saturday morning and you have it in your calendar to script and you wake up and you're not feeling gratitude, you're not feeling excited, you're not feeling that inspired feeling, then don't script. Scripting is something where it is an incredibly powerful tool, but I've always found in my experience that the power of the ritual and that tool comes from your actual excitement, comes from being inspired to do it, comes from those moments where you get the spark of like, oh my gosh, I'm so excited about this thing, I want to like script it and write about it. So recently I've gone back to writing down my goals and manifestations, but for a while I wasn't doing that consistently. I was writing them or I was putting them in my phone, so I wasn't like writing them down. But that's because I was going through a period of time where I wasn't inspired to write them down pen to paper, but now I am. And so now it's coming consistently because I'm consistently feeling the feeling of inspiration. Did I answer that question? Did I answer that question? Okay, so someone says, hey D, I wanna change my life and I wanna do something different and new, but I'm scared to try and I don't know how to start. So how to start? That's kind of a very broad question. This one just depends on like what it is that you actually want to start and what it is that you actually want to do. You know, that's gonna like make the how to start question or the answer for how to start very, very different. Because how to start how to start like content creation versus how to start becoming a dental assistant versus how to start a clothing line. It's gonna be different things. But in terms of like wanting to change your life and wanting to do something new, I would say the biggest thing is just like committing to it, deciding how much you want that thing, deciding what you're willing to sacrifice and commit to. And then once you've made that decision, you know, I think everything else kind of will naturally come to you. What I mean by that is if you decide and commit to changing your life and you've decided, okay, I want to maybe go back to school for like dental assistant or dental assisting, and you want to become a dental assistant, and that's the thing you've decided that you're going to commit to, then it becomes like, okay, I got to research, you know, schools and programs. I got to figure out how much things cost. I got to see if there's like a grant I qualify strive for. Like you start to kind of figure out those steps, and because you are so committed to that end goal and you are so committed to that vision that you see, you are willing to do the work to figure out what the steps are. I think the biggest thing is that commitment piece. And I always say that sometimes like you want something, but you might not actually be ready to commit to what it takes to have that thing. And that's totally okay. If you're in the space where you're like, I really want to experience this type of life, but there are a lot of different sacrifices that you need to make. For example, if you go back to the school thing or the content creation thing, a lot of times when you're wanting to change your life, it requires a heavy time investment, right? And a heavy, possibly financial investment. Between those two things, that's gonna require sacrifice. So that's gonna require, maybe you're going out less with your friends, maybe you're shopping less, maybe you're spending less time doing something else. And, you know, again, you might not be in a space where you want to go out less, or you want to spend less money, or you want to do whatever less. You might say, actually, no, I still want to live the way I've been living for the next year or whatever. And then I want to commit, then I want to decide to change my life. So the biggest one I would say is like figuring out, do you want, or are you ready to make the commitments and make the sacrifices that you need to in order to change your life? I've always said, you know, we talk about manifestation very often, or sometimes, and maybe I shouldn't say we, because it's not me, but I be hearing people talk about manifestation in this very magical and ethereal way. And I love that. I agree with that. I think that there's a lot of magic. There's a lot of divine intervention. There's a lot of stuff where, you know, you can't explain how it happened or how you met the person or how whatever, but it's just so cool when you look back and see it unfold. But there's also hard work. And unfortunately, I don't know what has happened, but we have somehow gotten to this place where we've vilified hard work. We've vilified discipline, commitment, and it becomes, how do we do all of the things that we want to do in the easiest way, in the fastest way? And I don't think that's the way we should be looking at it. I really don't, because I think if you want to build something long-term, if you want to build something sturdy, if you want to build something worthwhile, I think that, you know, the time investment, the commitment, the discipline, the hard work, all of that stuff is what makes it worthwhile. The journey is just as important as being able to have that thing at the end. If the journey is easy as hell and you get that thing real quick, you think you're gonna cherish it and hold on to it and love it like that? Nah, you about to be looking for the next thing. But if it's a journey where you are pushed to your limits, if you learn a lot about yourself during the journey, if you know, it's hard lessons and this, that, and the other, like when you get to where you want to get to, you gonna look back and be like, damn, I really did that. And it just makes you feel different. Now, I'm not saying it's about, you know, burning out and too much stress and whatever, but I'm saying a lot of that stuff that we talk about that we're all trying to avoid, like we're all trying to avoid experiencing the hard things. And I feel like that is a part of the human experience, is to experience the hard things and to allow yourself to be changed and evolved by the hard things. So yeah, that's my answer to that one. That was a kind of long answer, but yeah, that's my answer. How do you balance it all? I feel like I burn out in one area of my life because I focus on that part and then have to shift away to another focus. How do you find time to balance everything? I don't. Someone actually asked me this on an Instagram DM the other day, and because I sometimes do these things called dailies on my Instagram story where I just basically like break down, time block what I'm doing for the day. And if y'all don't know, I have a 9-to-5. So I'm the director of social at a media company, and then obviously I do content creation through my podcast, back on YouTube, you know, Instagram, that kind of thing. And you know, everyone has a bunch of stuff going on. So whether you're like a new parent or you're also a full-time student and you're balancing a side hustle, whatever the case is, like we're all balancing a bunch of different things. So this is not a unique situation to me at all by any means. The thing of like trying to find balance, struggling in one area, putting focus in this area and kind of forgetting about this thing for a minute and being like, oh God, I gotta do, go back to this thing. That I think is completely normal when you're doing a lot of stuff. Now, is it how you want to live for the long term? Probably not. Okay, probably not. Because let me tell you something, I be getting stressed out. But it is something where at this point, I've accepted that it is a seesaw and it's going to be unbalanced most of the time. Most of the time, I'm like, you know, really into my 9-to-5 work, killing it over there. And I feel like I'm dropping the ball on the podcast. There are times where I'm like doing amazing on the podcast. I'm like, oh yeah, we're killing it over here. And I feel like I'm dropping the ball at work. These days, I feel like I'm actually doing pretty well with like a good-ish balance. But this has also been a week where I've worked till 8, 9 o'clock at night every single day. So and then, you know, we get into now I'm sacrificing like a lot of like my free time and leisurely time to like hang out by myself or hang out with people. So there is, I feel like I think there's a way to have balance, but I feel like at the very beginning, when you are trying to build something and maybe you also still have to have like a job or you have work or whatever, I think it is kind of hard. And it is about accepting that you can't do everything and you kind of have to pick the things that you want to prioritize. So what helps me, a couple of things. One, time blocking. So time blocking my day. I have a Google Calendar, which I color coordinate. So I have my work stuff all in purple, my 9-to-5 stuff all in purple. And then I have like other colors for Manifest Daily stuff. So whether it's I'm recording with a guest, whether I'm preparing podcast briefs, whether I'm, you know, reviewing stuff from my designer and sending stuff back to her, whatever the case is, recording a podcast, it goes in my calendar. Like everything goes in my calendar. Even when I have dates, like when, you know, I'm going out on a date, that's in my calendar. Everything for social is in pink on my calendar. I have self-care in there. Time blocking and having a calendar is like my number one thing. Organization basically helps me because at least then I know, you know, everything has a time and a place to get done. And the second thing I would say is figuring out your top priorities. Like I said, you can't do everything. Right now, it's just me. I'm recording, I'm editing, I'm scripting, I'm doing all these different things. Like, I have to acknowledge my limits and I have to acknowledge that like I can't push myself past a certain limit, otherwise it leads to burnout. So what that looks like is I've picked out and realized like what I can and can't do. Figuring that out, making a list and being like, what's really key to me? My number one priority is my 9-to-5 job. So anytime there's a meeting or something that has to get done for that goes at the very top. Podcast goes below that. And then everything else kind of falls under that. So I create a priority list and move through that list to kind of figure out how I'm divvying up my time and what needs to get done and when it needs to get done. So in terms of balance, I don't really think I have a true balance. And I've always, you know, been very honest about the fact that like, I don't have a lot of friends here. Most of my friends live in other states. So I'm usually like going back to the East Coast, or obviously y'all, you know, I visited Tolu in Canada the other day just to see friends and like hang out with them for a little bit of time. But one thing that is kind of helpful for me is that I don't really have a lot of friends here. So I do spend a lot of time by myself and I can, you know, get work done, and the time that I'm not working, I can use to rest and, you know, chill, go to the gym. Sundays, I don't work on Sundays for the most part. Like I might post some stuff on Instagram, but I'm usually in bed watching movies and TV like pretty much all days on Sundays to kind of like just reset my entire life and my entire like energy. Best manifestation method that has changed your life if you narrow it down to one or two. The best one for me has been scripting. I know we talked about that earlier. Scripting and visualization, I would say, are the two. And those are the two that I've just naturally done my whole life. Like I remember being a kid and right before, you know, going to sleep, like I'd be in bed laying down and I'd just be like in my head making up a movie about the things that I wanted to happen to me. And then I started to realize the correlation between like how I envision things every single night over and over and over and over again, and the fact that they would come true and happen. So visualization is a big one, and I love doing it before I go to bed. So I'll just kind of like, you know, watch something or read something right before bed, and then like I put on my little white noise sound maker, and I'll just like lay in bed, and before I fall to sleep, I'll like, you know, daydream about things. So I'm like launching, you know, some new stuff for Manifest Daily, so I like daydream a lot about that, about what that will look like, about getting into certain stores with this product that I'm working on, just like things like that. So I daydream about it. And then I think scripting is another big one for me. So lately I've been doing my monthly goals. So this just, you know, I just went back to doing this, but I have my monthly goals and my yearly goals on my phone. But lately I've been writing them down in a journal, and then every day, pretty much every day, and again, this is happening naturally. It's not like I'm like 8 o'clock, it's time to go over over my goals, but it's more that I just happen to be in the office working a bit late, and then my journal is right there, you know, out of sight, out of mind, but I keep my journal in sight, in mind, and then I'll have it open to my goals, and I just kind of read through my goals and be like, oh, you know, what am I progressing on? What have I already manifested? Things like that. But I make it fun too. So like with scripting, I think the best way to make it fun is one, have a cute notebook or journal, something aesthetic, something that you really like. Two, get you some colored pens, okay? We love a black and blue ink pen, but some colored pens that be spicing it up, all right? I got the little pinks, I got the greens. Baby, the other day, I just ordered me some boho colored pens off of Amazon. I'm actually planning on doing an entire video, y'all. I'm so excited for this. An entire video on my office desk organization. Can we get into it? Because I am so excited. So I ordered a whole new computer. I have not had a desktop computer. Like, I think the last time there was a desktop computer in my life was elementary or middle school. Like my parents had like one of the, you know, the ones with the big back, the big body computers, girl. That was the last time I had me a desktop computer. So I literally ordered one the other day, business investment, okay, running enough in Texas. So I ordered a new computer and I ordered a bunch of stuff to organize my desk. I'm gonna be doing that, but I will say just like scripting has been super powerful. Some things that I've scripted, I literally wrote down traits that I wanted in a partner. That was my ex, like literally to a T, that was him. And what was another one? This apartment, scripted. My car that I got when I got to Texas, scripted. When I tell you, when I went back and read what I wrote for the car, everything was like down to the T except for the car brand. So I used to have a Honda, and then I thought I was gonna stay within Honda and lease again with Honda because I'd already leased 2 Honda cars before. But this time I came here and I went to Hyundai instead of Honda just because like, the Honda, I was looking at the CRV, the back, like the booty on the CRV ain't as cute as the booty on the Hyundai Tucson. And it's something about me and cars' butts. Like it's gotta have a nice butt, you know what I mean? So I was looking at the Hyundai Tucson and the Audi, I think it was the Q5, I think it's called Q, is it Q? Like literally down to how the whole process happened, like me walking into the dealership and like what happened. Literally scripted. I actually scripted getting my first car too that way too. I remember being like, I walked into a dealership, walked out with a new car. Baby, just like that happened as well. What else have I scripted? My job, my current job I scripted, my past job and the salary I scripted. So just like a bunch of different things, but like writing things down and speaking things into existence is so powerful. When I tell y'all, listen, I don't know if you want to call it being delusional. I don't know if you want to say it's being positive. I don't know if you want to say it's speaking into existence, but write that down and be like, that's it, period, it's done. And like, just go about it like it's done, but you haven't yet like gotten it yet. Like it's almost like, okay, like that whole, you know, order analogy. It's like how I ordered my computer or whatever in the other day, and like Apple just shipped it and it's not here yet, but I know it's coming, so I'm prepping for it. So I'm like, oh, let me get my little desk, you know, boho colored pens. Let me get my little desk organizer because my new computer coming, I gotta make sure everything ready for that girl. You know what I'm saying? I gotta make sure the whole desk about to be a movie in there. It's literally gonna be a movie on the YouTube channel, okay? It's like that. So like write it down and know what's about to happen and prep yourself for it, period. So it's the way that like, I haven't bought the house yet. We hear people talking about how it's a crazy housing market. The rates are this and the rates are that. I get nervous about that sometimes, but then I'm like, you know what? The interest rates, you think God is concerned about interest rates? No. So why should I be concerned? Not gonna. I mean, you know what I mean though? It's like at the end of the day, if it's gonna happen, it's gonna happen. If it's not, it's not. But it's gonna happen. It's just like, it's gonna happen when it's the right time for it to happen. I have to not re-up. I have to, what's it called? My electric company, my contract thing is ending with them because here it's like a bunch of different like electric companies. You gotta choose like plans and stuff, which it was not like that in New Jersey when I lived there. Girl.
Can you say that again?
Ma'am.
Okay.
Alexa, stop. Alexa, stop. See,
Before you go.
No, Alexa.
Let's
Alexa, stop. Do you see what? Let me go turn this thing off because that is like the second time that has happened to me this week. And I don't like that because nobody's saying her name, but she wanted to talk to somebody. Like, baby, go talk to your friends. Don't talk to me. Anyways, so scripting, love that. Now, single moms trying to date. listen, okay, I'm not a single mom, so I feel like I don't know how good this advice is gonna be. I don't know, it's just like the same as the dating advice that I give in general. I feel like you just have to, at the end of the day, really have your standard for what you want and what the kind of person that you would possibly want as a partner and involved in your child's life. Have those high standards and know that person out there exists. And if the men that you're meeting or the woman that you're meeting, whoever you're dating that you're meeting, they aren't meeting that specific standard, let them go. Because there's a lot of folks out here who will come incorrectly and want to act like you're just gonna accept it. And I don't know who's been out here telling these folks that they could come with this type of nonchalant, bummy energy and be around, nah. So just have your standards high and don't let anyone out here convince you that you need to lower your standards. I think it's one thing to have high standards, and it's another thing to have like standards that are almost impossible for an individual. Like I think that's a completely different thing. But if you have high standards and you bring that same type of energy to the table, then know it's possible and know it's someone out there who can meet that standard. And don't let these bums try to waste your time, because no, we're not here for that. What keeps you motivated? Let's see, motivation is definitely fleeting, as y'all know. So like there are days when I'm like super motivated. There are days when I'm like very not motivated. I would say, for example, this is a day where when I first woke up, I had a headache and then I didn't really want to go to the gym. And I just didn't really want to do much of anything. I even considered like, oh, I wouldn't record today because I was just like, oh, I don't want to have to get ready or whatever. And what actually kind of helped me realize, and it's not even motivation, but it's having the discipline. That's my word for the year, is discipline. And for me, I was just like, okay, if I have certain wellness and fitness goals, it's no way I'm hitting my goals unless I'm going to the gym consistently. And so I was out of the gym for a month. So getting back into my routine has been a little bit difficult, I would say. But it's like, I know it's like the only thing that makes sense is like remembering what your goal is and like remembering what you promised yourself you would do and just doing it. I have no other way of explaining it. And it's hard. It is hard. And being disciplined is hard. But I always say being disciplined is such a very respectable form of self-care. I mean, not that self-care is non-respectable, but you know what I mean? Like it's being disciplined is like, it's not always convenient and easy and aesthetic and beautiful and whatever, but it's like, that's what gets you to results. Consistency, putting in work every single day, doing what you need to do consistently over time. It's not the most glamorous thing. Like people want to think about, when we think about manifestation, we think about goals. We think about, oh, we gonna write this down with the cute colored pens, like I was just mentioning. And it's like, yeah, that's fun. That's fun to write down that you about to do this, or you about to get this amount of money, or you're about to manifest this job, you're about to manifest this house, you're about to get this car, whatever, all the different physical things. It's cute to write down that you want to become more confident, all the things, but are you really doing what you need to do to achieve that? And if you're not, then don't be surprised if you don't. It's kind of like tough love is usually what motivates me, to be honest with you. And today with this video, what in particular was really nice was that I got home, I was super hungry, I ate my food, but then as I was thinking about recording the podcast version, the part one of this, I got super excited about testing out like the new mic. And so, or actually I tested it the other day, but I tested it with the lav, and today I want to try it without the lav. And so it was just being inspired by thinking about how I was gonna edit the video, being inspired by thinking about how I was gonna shoot the video. So another thing that motivates me is just like being able to be creative and experiment with different creativity. And I think I'm in a season where I'm like, the niche is me, you know what I'm saying? So I'm creating what I wanna create. I'm doing what I wanna do. And so I'm just motivated by living life and being consistent because I know what my goals are, and I'm very, 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 very set on achieving them. So what is your biggest fear and what is your biggest dream? My biggest fear, I would say I've spoken about this before. In fact, this was literally my first episode of the podcast. I talk about my fear of success. It's hand in hand, because in that episode I talked about how you might really want something, but if subconsciously you're afraid of what changes in your life when you get that thing, you might self-sabotage. So that's kind of what that episode is about. But going alongside that, I would say one of my fears is getting to the end of my life and feeling like I didn't do enough of what I wanted to do. I didn't take enough risks. I didn't live the way I wanted to live. So basically my fear is just like getting to the end of my life and having a lot of regrets. So this is why I think I tend to be incredibly impulsive and I tend to kind of be like YOLO, because when I think about something, when I want something, if I keep thinking about that thing, I want to take the risk and I want to take the chance, because the idea that I could ever not take the risk and not take the chance and like maybe one day, you know, wake up in an alternate reality like Scrooge or something like that, where I'm like seeing the reality that I could have lived had I taken the chance, and I only have the regrets of knowing that I didn't, like that is one of my biggest fears, like just not taking chances and having regrets. My biggest dream, I would say, I'm pretty career driven. The biggest thing I think about is creating some sort of household name brand. That's always what I thought would happen when I was a kid. Like I remember being like, you know, I always thought like I would just be like a household name. And this, okay, listen, don't come for me because I don't want this to sound like, oh, she thinks she's that person or whatever. I mean, I am, and you are too, okay? But what I mean is that like, I just have this dream of creating something or a bunch of things or a brand in some way that really changes people's lives and so many lives for the better, that it becomes like a global household name. Like that's just the vibe, okay? That's just it. And I don't know what that really looks like. I have different things I'm doing, and I've never really wanted to be like, you know, I don't want to be like an influencer. I don't want to just be a content creator. I want to be myself, and I want to be known for just bringing change to the world, for being myself. And that's kind of it. I don't know. It's a very vague dream, but it's just the dream I've had since I was like a child. So there's that. Someone says, when do I draw the line and start living for myself by myself? Today, period, today. I don't know what else to say about that. Draw that line today. I don't know what that means for you. Maybe it means leaving certain relationships. Maybe it means leaving a certain job. I know the economy is economying. Okay, the inflation is inflating. I know all that is happening. But I want to say that draw that line today. That's it. Okay, so this is the last question I have on this list. And like I said, all the other questions will be answered in the podcast episode. My podcast is Manifest Daily. You can find it on Google, Apple, Spotify, Amazon Music, IMDb. I don't know, girl, you can find it anywhere. Okay, so just look it up, Manifest Daily, and you can hear part 1. So the last question for this one is, do you really think as humans that we are only meant to be with one person for the majority of our lives? And I do not. I used to think that. I used to, not even that I only believed in one soulmate. I've always believed in multiple soulmates, so like the friend soulmates and the, you know, the relationship soulmates. But I used to kind of think that, and sometimes I talk about love and I say, oh, I want to meet my person. And I think that suggests like one, and I totally understand that. I think it's just the phrasing. But that being said, I think that it's almost unrealistic to expect that most people in relationships will meet one person that fits their needs and they fit that person's needs for the rest of their lives. We are typically always growing and evolving, and there are people out there that might not prioritize evolution, might not prioritize growth, might want to remain stagnant, and maybe you have two people that come together with a similar mindset like that and they stay together for the rest of their lives because of that. But I do think that if you are someone that's evolving and growing, and the person that you're with is also evolving and growing, your mindset changes, your values might change over time. You might get together when you're really young, or you might even get together when you're a bit older, and things shift and change, and all of a sudden it's 20 years later and the people that you are no longer compatible with each other. And I think that's totally okay. I feel like it's unrealistic, and in many ways having a mindset like that where you believe that, you know, you're only supposed to be with one person, it can really encourage people to stay in toxic relationships and toxic situations because they want to save face, because they think this is my person, that's it, I have to go through everything with that person. One thing about me, if you are disrupting my peace for too damn long, you gotta go. You have to go, because it's nobody, nothing, no job worth me having my peace disrupted for a long amount of time. You know, stress kills. What you mean? You gonna have that man killing you because you think you gotta be with him for the rest of your life, baby? Nah, leave him alone. You gotta go. I don't think you have to be with one person for all of your life. In fact, I used to kind of question things like, not question divorce, but kind of be like, oh, you know, wondering why the divorce rate was so high, things like that. And you know, yeah, there's some people who get together for the wrong reasons or whatever the case is, but I also think part of it is just that people outgrow each other, and that's totally okay. I think it's better to be honest about your evolution and growth and say, I am no longer a good fit for this person, for this relationship, than to stay in something that's toxic and not working and keep it going because you think you should. So yeah, that is my answer to that question. So my loves, I really hope you enjoyed this part 2 to the Manifest Daily Sleepover episode. Next time we do a Q&A, because I'm gonna be doing these monthly now. If you wanna submit a question, get on my email list, because moving forward, I'm gonna just be sending out a form every single month so y'all could submit your questions. The one for February is already live. I'll probably resend the form mid-month or mid-January so y'all can see that again. Thank you for being here. If you're interested in any merch, I will link the link to my merch store down below. If you do order anything, just know that these are being shipped in batches. So if you order today, it might take a week or 2 for your order to actually ship, and then possibly another week or 2 for it to get to you, depending where you are in the world. So I appreciate y'all so much. Thank you for being here. Please subscribe if you haven't already. More videos to come because discipline and committed this year. And I love that for us, okay? I'll chat with y'all in the next video. Bye, my loves.